This has come up in discussions a lot lately, especially from the religious, but surprisingly enough, from a couple of atheists as well, and it's something I simply don't understand. Oh, I know why they do it emotionally, but from a rational standpoint, it's completely baffling to me. And that's why theists and a handful of atheists insist that atheism is something that is simply not. Atheism, as I've said many times before, is the lack of belief in gods, the rejection of claims made by the religious for cause. And they don't seem to be able to get that through their heads. See, most of these crazy theists, and I will admit that they tend to be a little more fundamentalist or evangelical, insist that atheists, all atheists, actively believe that gods, and their gods in particular, don't exist. It isn't just Christians, it's Muslims and many other religious adherents as well. As far as they're concerned, everyone has to have faith, because the idea of people operating without faith, I think, scares the crap out of them. For some, I'm pretty sure that they're trying to be pragmatic about it. Some, I think, know that atheists simply lack belief, but the only way they can defend their own blind faith is to pretend that everybody has blind faith, so that nobody can be critical. I mean, if you have a blind and unsupported faith that gods aren't real, then how can you go after people with a blind and unsupported faith that they are? That just opens you up to well-deserved derision if you get caught at it. So these people, whether they actually believe it's true or not, insist that it has to be so they have some kind of leverage to shut up the opposition. They don't really care if what they say is true or not, any more than they care if what they believe is true. They're just fighting against a straw man, preaching to the choir, because they have no other defense. And they really couldn't care less if actual atheists tell them that they're wrong, because it doesn't matter. They either have blind faith or blind pragmatism. They can only come up with one way to attack their detractors, and whether or not that method makes any sense, they're going to stick with it because without it, they're lost. And even if atheists produce the dictionary definition of atheism, which is disbelief or lack of belief in the existence of God or gods, they completely ignore the second part, demanding that disbelief is all that exists. It's patently absurd. I can't tell you how many of these discussions I've just given up on recently, after theists insisted that they knew more about what atheists believed than atheists did. After telling atheists that they, in fact, had an active belief that no gods existed, regardless of what actual atheists told them. I've actually seen, I kid you not, theists telling atheists that they actually know their gods are real. They're just pretending they don't so they can sin. The levels of delusion necessary to pontificate on someone else's mindset and tell them exactly what they're thinking, despite all evidence to the contrary, it's just mind-blowing. And really, since they're not open to being proven wrong, whether they really think they're right or they're just pragmatically insisting that they are, what's the point of having any kind of discussion with these people? As I said, there's also a couple of self-identified atheists out there who are trying the same thing, who insist that everyone believes that either there is a God, or there's no God, and there's no other options possible. Of course, these people are really no different than what I've come to call fundamentalist agnostics. Those people who think they can never know anything about gods. And neither can you. So everyone else needs to just shut the hell up. Because again, it's just a method of keeping everyone who disagrees with you quiet so you can't be criticized. And for some reason, they think people can't see right through their nonsense. But we can. It really isn't that hard, and the fastest way to get these people into a frothing, rage-induced lather is to point out that we can see what they're doing, that we do know what they're doing, and we're not going to stand for it. Nothing pisses off the irrational more than having their irrationality, especially their patently dishonest irrationality, exposed for the world to see. And that brings up something else that always confuses me. But why is it that theists are so much more comfortable with so-called agnostics than they are with self-identified atheists. I mean, ignoring the fact that virtually all of these agnostics are actually atheists themselves, of course. Because at the end of the day, agnostics and atheists all reject belief in their supposed gods. They just do it for what are supposed to be different reasons. But they all disbelieve. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. It's like a car salesman saying that people who don't like the cars he's selling are somehow worse than the people who have other reasons not to buy his cars. Yeah, but he still hasn't sold a car. It doesn't really matter why they're not buying. They're still not buying. Maybe one side isn't pointing out all the reasons that he's selling a bad product, but it's still a bad product because they want nothing to do with it. Where exactly is the logic in any of that? Oh wait, this is religion we're talking about. There's no logic at all, is there? So anyway, what do you think? Why are theists so dead set on insisting that atheists have to believe no gods exist, instead of accepting the reality that we simply haven't been convinced by religious arguments and have rejected them for cause? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like a dishonest shell game. Either the religious are so oblivious that they can't see what they're doing, or they're lying shysters pushing a religious narrative to the unfortunately gullible in their midst. While neither option is a good one, I'd rather think the former than the latter, but as time goes on, the latter starts to look like the only defensible truth. And as we all know, at least the honest among us know, it's all just sad.
Everything changes.